Hello, colleagues across town, across the globe. I'm Paul Colby, your host for Paul Colby and the Investigators. As you can see, I'm in disguise, and the investigators who normally accompany me are nowhere to be found. And that's really the subject of this special report. Where are my investigators and what are they up to? And is somebody tracking us down, trying to silence us? Yeah, I think that's the point. And I'm going to provide you a video record of my recent travels to show you what I have learned about the disappearance of my investigators. So, the other day I was working in the big library. I thought we might have a book with pictures of the Russian yachts owned by those boat tycoons, the big boats. Well, we didn't have pictures of boats at all, but we did have a book on negotiating with farm animals that had some incredible pictures. Maybe I'll describe those later. Anyway, I got a text message from Bruce Fort, one of my investigators. He says, come over to the secret headquarters. I have a tip about the Havana White. That's the boat owned by Valentina Turner. And when I got there, Bruce was nowhere in sight. There was a message saying, come on downtown to the big building and we'll talk about it there. So I drove downtown. I was thinking about that other big boat, the Yodeler, owned by Boris Glutentag. This thing is supposed to be so big that the once missing city of Petaluma, California, and all of the people who lived and worked there are actually now on that boat. And of course, they're working for rubles. They probably haven't noticed the difference. They think it's Bitcoin. I got downtown. I found Bruce's secretary, Barbara Ganoush, and she said, no, he's not here, Bruce. He took off and went down to the Theater of the Absurd out on that old highway. You know where it is, and I guess you guys want to have one of your secret spy meetings. I don't know how she gets these ideas, but she directed me back to the parking lot, and I thought when I got out there I was being shot at. When I got there, in fact, my dog said, no, that was just a sound made by a big electronic fish that's passing through the building. More on that later. I got to the Theater of the Absurd, and Bruce was not there, but there were people who were working on synthetic food products. For example, there were some steam-powered avocados that were being made out of rubber, and some lettuce being made out of pressboard, and some hot dogs being made out of old smartphone parts. I didn't instantly understand, but then I remembered that our governor, the political stuntman, Mr. Abbott, once held up the supply chain by making a bunch of trucks wait at the border for long periods of time with food in the trucks that was spoiling. Anyway, Bruce left me a note. He said, you're being observed by helicopters, but I can give you the directions to the place where they've docked the Havana White. So I drove out there. It was a long way. However, as I was en route, I got a call from another investigator, less convincing. He said, after you are finished with the Havana White, get on down here to Kansas and I'll show you where they've docked the Yodeler. Well, I talked to some electronic sea mammals there at the first dock, and they said, you know, it sounds like Les has laid a big egg, which is code terminology in our business for making a serious mistake. So when I got to that dock in Kansas, I jumped in the tank. I did not see the Yodeler. I did not see any sign of less convincing, and I certainly didn't see any sign of the long missing city of Petaluma, California. But a man who had filled up the tank, I guess he's a workman there, he said, look under the tree where you see those tiny blue flags. You will see a slip of paper with directions to another dock. And it is in Neighborhood Stock. That's where they have the Yankee God, which is owned by the promoter of rock star Lollapalooza. But when I got there, it was so dark I couldn't see a thing. I was going to give up on this when I got a call from yet another of my investigators, Jean Splitter. She said, you've got to get down here and meet me at the Black Hole Foods because I'm going to show you something you won't believe. So I was met at the Black Hole Foods market by a short, tipsy cameraman who was taking me all over the store shooting pictures. I did not understand why. I said, where is Jean? He said, who's Jean? I said, Jean with the pink hair. He said, oh yeah, there was a lady with pink hair on the golf course with me today, and there's a pink, on the boat with the golf course, and there's a pink flower going outside my headquarters. And not only that, there are flamingos out in the back of the store eating the food to prove that it's safe. And not only that, you are about to be impersonated on TV so that we can ruin your reputation. Hello, colleagues across town and across the globe. I've been accused of distorting the news for many years, and I'm guilty. If you are out of work, or tired of milking the cows, or having a pizza, or a midlife crisis, whatever. However, since I was so close to the border, I decided I'd have a look at Operation Lone Star, that $500 million expenditure to improve a border wall with Mexico that our governor says we need because we're at war with the Biden administration, which is why we can't spend any money on teacher salaries or students or infrastructure or health insurance, etc. And then I remembered that this governor sent busloads of so-called immigrants up to the nation's capital to hang around and protest what Uncle Biden was doing just because he decided he didn't want to have these people on the border here hanging around when they could be up there in January 6th territory, you know, hanging around the Capitol and peacefully talking. Shortly thereafter, I reached another of my investigators, mark my words, at another dry dock location, and he explained some things to me that had completely escaped my notice. He said, the wall is not being built to keep people out, it's being built to keep them in. They are the tax base. And then he talked about concrete. He said a bunch of old white rich men would like to have the country paved over, except where bridges need to be repaired. And they look for a day when men can return to being unshaven and women can shut up about it and not complain. As I strolled through headquarters that evening, I asked myself, had some of my best investigators already fled the country rather than endure life under an extreme court? Had they already purchased electronic sea mammals to help them weather the storm that was coming? I don't know how that works anyway. And had they decided that the destruction of this country was no longer a problem for them because they had already left it behind? I didn't know the answer to these questions. I still don't know the answer to these questions. But I'll tell you one thing. We do live in explosive times, and I'm not kidding you folks, we do. But if you should discover that the fire hydrants in your area are starting to explode, then you might ask yourself, is it time to get off the freeway? So let me review. After they take your ticket tocket, look for the table with your number. That's where you'll be seated. We're going to be dining on platitudes, but first you'll have a word salad. Now, if you've indicated that you do not ingest electronic sea mammals, you'll be given the opportunity to ingest or adopt or name some giant egg as you wish. Please now, remember that you are going to leave by the parking lot. Don't worry about the bars. They're there to protect you. And don't worry about the blimp up above. It's there to keep an eye on things. And we are so glad you're here because you don't really have a choice.